what he was looking for in this game. Test the different lineups and see how the offense works. He said, yes, the defense and their compatibility is important, but this is more a test of the offense.
As we switch ends for the final 20 minutes, Marian with possession to start things off. Ron Rutland from outside misses a tray. And Tatum Connerway down with the rebound. Original starters out there for both teams. And the number that I want to throw at you, Graham, we saw it in the stat comparison, but some context is important. As Connerway inside, here's Enright in the corner, and he banked it in. And that goes right in with what I was going to talk about. Indiana, in its previous 3 home exhibitions, was a combined 5 for 19 from 3 in the first half, as that ball is deflected out of bounds by Tucker DeVries. So 5 for 19 combined through its previous 3 home exhibitions before tonight in the first half. Tonight, Indiana was 12 for 20 in the first half from 3-point range. That speaks to Darren DeVries' philosophy. We're going to shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah, he said that when he walked into the building pretty much. And at the end of last season was, this team's going to shoot a lot of threes. This team's going to play fast-paced basketball. And that is exactly what we saw in the first 20 minutes.
And fast-paced on both sides of the ball. The defensive intensity there, forcing Ron Rutland into a 5-second violation.
I think that might be the more impressive part is, on defense, there's a lot of chemistry you need to have to pick up switches, to play a good man, good zone defense, whatever you want to call it. That has been on point for Indiana in those first 20 minutes. It was just the ability to switch was really, really impressive.
Bailey spinning inside, got his arms tied up by Blake Russell. Blake Russell, 23 in Navy, the one who picked up the foul. Pat Knight called him a poor man's Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale, of course, nicknamed the Torture Chamber because of his defensive prowess, his footwork, his skills in the post. A 3-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer, regarded as one of the greatest of all time. And oh, by the way, he played in the Big Ten at Minnesota. That's high praise for Russell, a true freshman who averaged almost 19 points and 10 rebounds in high school.
Yeah, and just looking at his numbers and what he accomplished in high school, I think you can understand a bit of why he was given that title. Named to the All-Louisville team, All-State team, was a Kentucky All-Star, and as a high schooler, so this kid's got game. He's just trying to find it at the collegiate level.
And that's the thing. Pat Knight talked about it to us earlier this week as Humphrey rises and fires and misses everything. Wilkerson watching that go over the baseline. There are a lot of things that you can do at the high school level that you just can't get away with once you get to the college game. And so it is a huge learning curve. Blake Russell being thrown into the fire as a true freshman. Your first game action, even though it's an exhibition, is against a Power 4 Division I team.
Yeah, and he's not the only one on this team that's going to have to try to figure it out. A lot of freshmen on this team for Pat Knight.
Connerway misses the second chance attempt, and down with it comes Aaron Humphrey, pushing the pace ahead to Renfro. Renfro picked up by Wilkerson, and there is Blake Russell getting a touch. Down to the baseline for Aiden Franks. Franks had 12 points in that first half to lead all Marian scorers. Humphrey now with under 10 on the shot clock. Franks was very confident shooting earlier. Here he passes it off to Renfro, who misses the 3-ball. And the offensive rebound through the hands of Lovin in transition with urgency was Indiana. And Connerway looking for Enright, the pass deflected out of bounds by Renfro.
How about that little tip-up from Tatum Connerway, just getting that basketball above the outstretched hands of the Knights. He was looking like he was well on his way to a phenomenal assist, but just didn't quite lead his, I guess you could call it, intended receiver enough there to get the connection. But still, he's showing off a little pizzazz.
Connerway inbounding to Reed Bailey, missed his target, and here's Rutland running the other way, all the way to the hole, and the second chance finish for Humphrey, plus the foul. See Marian getting out and running right there. Darren DeVries not pleased with that sequence, I'm sure, and again, kind of the growing pains for Indiana. We'll take another look at it right here, all the way to the hole as Wilkerson, I think, went up to try to block that one. Humphrey shooting into the student section, knocks it down. As Connor Enright brings it up for Indiana. Over 90 career games played. One of many experienced transfers. Here's Reed Bailey underneath. Nice finish. Bailey with nearly 100 career games played. These guys are veterans, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that's the big point to talk about, is a lot of questions about how they'd play together, but it's a lot easier to play together when you've played so many games just in general. All of these guys have long resumes, and that can really, really help come regular season, but definitely come conference time as well.
Conaway got his hand into the passing lane there. You can see it looks like he's going to be a pest on defense for teams throughout the season facing Indiana.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, last year with Troy, Conaway set the program record in steals with 98. So this dude is just quick. He's got quick hands, and he's going to absolutely be a pest. I think that's a perfect way to say it.
He averaged nearly 3 steals per game over the course of his career, as Tucker DeVries gets dinged for the foul there. So side out for Marian. And Sam Alexis first off the bench, as he was in the first half. I suspect we will see the walk-ons in the dying stages of the second half. And right there, Tucker DeVries getting tangled up with Noah Lovin on the perimeter. And so for DeVries, that's his second foul of the evening. Lovin now driving on Reed Bailey. That's a mismatch and a half. Back up top for Humphrey. On Alexis, into the paint. He spins, and he gets it to go. Nice finish there by Aaron Humphrey, standing at 6'7".
That was good defense, but just a little bit better offense. Aaron Humphrey Jr. did a great job with some soft touch there over a very tall Sam Alexis, who was really moving his feet well and staying in front of Humphrey.
Enright driving inside, extra pass to Alexis, and that was perhaps ill-advised as he turns it over. Enright perhaps a little too unselfish. Here's Lovin now. Humphrey from the elbow, not quite. Wilkerson down with the board. See if Indiana gets out and runs here. Wilkerson fires a 3, not quite. Off the heel, and the rebound into the hands of Ron Rutland. Rutland the third. Kicks it back out. Noah Lovin running the point. One of the young players on this Marian team, a true sophomore. Aaron Humphrey airballs the 3. And an empty possession there for the Knights. Thanks, Ava. And you know, it's kind of a full circle moment. Luke Lindemann played at Bloomington North High School. And when he and the Cougars faced off against South a couple years ago, that game went into overtime and ended on a buzzer beater. That was the first basketball game I ever called. So now, the first men's game that I call courtside at Assembly Hall, Luke Lindemann playing for Marian. I thought that was kind of interesting. Raised my eyebrows, to say the least, as Tatum Conaway, a little too physical with Noah Lovin right there. But Lindemann, his senior year of high school, hampered by injuries, and his AAU career as well as it came to a close. Pat Knight told Lindemann's father, Todd, he said, hey, we're here for you. If you don't get what you want because of the injuries right out of high school, the injuries and, of course, teams utilizing the transfer portal so heavily, Alexis fighting inside, counted, and the foul. The Florida transfer, very physical, as we've come to expect. Highly touted for his paint presence. But as we get another look at Alexis fighting through all kinds of contact right there. And Alexis to the stripe. But Pat Knight told Todd Lindemann, if Luke doesn't get what he wants right out of high school, come to Marian, play for me for a couple of years. With teams looking for transfers all over the place, a lot of rising high school seniors, graduating seniors are getting overlooked. So you can play at the NAIA level for a couple of years and then transfer to a Division I school and make a name for yourself at the highest level of college basketball.
Yeah, Pat Knight said that he felt like that was really benefiting him in his team. He was very excited about what a lot of those freshmen could do for the Knights this season, and I think he's absolutely right. The transfer portal has become such a big presence in not just college basketball, but if we're talking college basketball, a lot of those more experienced guys are getting picked up, and so a lot of the freshmen, a lot of the younger guys who are very, very talented are just getting overlooked.
A block there from Trent Sisley has Indiana up and running once again. DeVries hands off to Conaway. He made a 3 in the first half, but that's not his biggest strength. Two-man game with DeVries into the paint. Extra pass to the corner. Sisley knocks it down. That ball movement, Graham, coming to the forefront once again as Indiana less than 20 points shy of triple digits.
Yeah, and that's the ball movement that we saw more of in the first half. Haven't seen it as much to begin this second half. It hasn't at least been as clean as it was in the first 20, and that time they really get it moving sharply. They find Sicily in the corner, and he knocks down another. That's his third 3 already of the night.
Darren DeVries told us in a practice earlier this week, Indiana had nearly 10 assists per turnover. They chart those stats, and he said that was something to be really excited about. That ball movement bearing itself out in this first exhibition game for the Hoosiers as well. Here's Aiden Franks, missing from the right perimeter. Franks led all Marian scorers with 12 points in the first half, but he's gone quiet in the first 6 minutes of the second stanza. Another two-man action here. Sicily to the rim, my goodness! A true freshman. And you can see why people are so excited about him. Wow.
Well, we talked about his touch and his shooting ability. There he shows off the size as well. Standing at 6'8", 225 pounds, just goes tumbling through the lane. And he is really showing off the entire skill set here tonight.
Converts on the three-point play for good measure. Indiana fans excited is an understatement to describe how they feel about Trent Sicily. During the scrimmage, he got, I think, one of the loudest cheers of anyone. I didn't have a decibel meter on hand, but it definitely felt like Indiana fans were especially excited for Sicily to wear the cream and crimson. Loose ball picked up by Wilkerson, out and running in transition. Waiting for some bodies. Here's Tucker DeVries. Slowing things down for a moment. Wilkerson bluffing the three. Ball kicked out of bounds. And possession stays with Indiana. We haven't seen a true freshman of Sicily's caliber in Bloomington. You don't get them very often, to say the least. A consensus top 100 recruit, a 4-star by every outlet. And he's going to be an impact player for Indiana in his first season down here in B-Town. Baseline inbound going to Connerway. Connerway left open. He's got some space, drives into the lane. Nifty finish through 2 defenders for Connerway.
Well, that's why he's dangerous. He can go straight through someone and still find a way to be on balance and get a great shot up and in off the glass.
Seemed like he hung in the air forever right there. Luke Carroll and Reed Bailey matched up one-on-one. Carroll trying to get to the baseline. Bailey's not going to let him have it. Now the switch onto Rutland. Mismatch, advantage Bailey. Underneath the basket and over everybody. Bailey collides quite hard with Luke Carroll right there. Both men back on their feet. And so Carroll picking up his 3rd foul, and the physicality definitely not going by the wayside even as the game gets more and more lopsided.
Yeah, it's been noticeable. Indiana with considerably more fouls in this second half than they had in the first, and I think that also speaks volume, is that the Hoosiers playing as physically as Marian is in this second half despite the lopsided lead.
Connerway turns it over. Humphrey with the steal, taking it the length of the floor, and he misses the layup. Second chance basket for Renfro, and a chance at a 3-point play. Good job there by Renfro of hustling back down the floor and following the play.
And that's the second foul of this kind that Indiana has had, where the follow just gets a little too ambitious on that block. And that time it was Reed Bailey flying in a little bit too hard, going for the block, and got a little bit handsy. Sends Renfro to the stripe.
Joshua Renfro, a native of New Albany, Indiana. Pat Knight called him an unbelievable shooter. He flushes the free throw there. Over 2,000 points in his career at Christian Academy High School. Set a school record. Also a 2-time All-State honoree. Sicily, after that dunk, what else does he have in store? Well, hopefully not too many more turnovers if you're an Indiana fan. This one, though, going the other way. Renfro up top, Humphrey left open, whiffed. And so Indiana will inbound from the baseline to our left. Not too many turnovers to speak of. 7 for Indiana, 11 for Marian in this game. Here's Bailey across the lane into the corner. Alexis tries a 3, in and out. And the rebound to Carroll.
And a good look nonetheless, despite it not falling for Alexis. That's the kind of ball movement as well that Indiana's been showing off, where someone will drive into the lane, a Knight is drawn to that cutter, and then there's someone open on the perimeter, and with Indiana's ability to shoot the ball, that could be huge.
Rutland denied by the iron. Rebound to Trent Sisley. And now Enright left alone. Extra pass, Bailey in the corner. And back up top for Josiah Miles. Drives through a couple defenders, met up top and fouled. Sent to the deck.
And then, you know, from here, what can he do about bringing some of that Indiana talent back in?
Josiah Miles was fouled before the break. He makes the first of 2 free throws. Sisley, a native of Santa Claus, Indiana. Whenever I think of Santa Claus, Indiana, I always think of Jay Cutler because he's from Santa Claus, Indiana.
Interesting.
As Miles misses the second foul shot, but I'm sure Chicago Bears fans just got brought back to a time that sometimes they enjoyed and other times they didn't, because that was the Jay Cutler experience at quarterback. Blake Russell misses underneath the basket, and the Hoosiers running with haste once again. Here's Enright, off to Sisley from downtown, count it! And we just saw him terrorize the rim earlier, right there. He brings Indiana to 90 points on the night.
He's just a pure shooter. He gets it end over end so well and so consistently. He was out on the floor before anybody else in warm-ups, just trying to get that shot down.
Lovin, I think that's a goaltend. Alexis a little bit late to the party, trying to deny that one. And so Indiana, mentioned it earlier, but I want to repeat it. Indiana in the first half tonight attempted more threes than its previous 3 home exhibitions combined through 20 minutes. I think that speaks volume about how different Indiana basketball is going to look this year compared to years past, as Alexis makes the floater in the paint.
I think you're right. It's not only going to be a lot of threes, but it should, at least as statistics go, be pretty strong shooting from 3. 4 players have made at least 80 career threes while shooting better than 35% on this IU roster, so they can really put it up and in from downtown.
And now, of course, the obvious question is, you know, on a Tuesday night at Jersey Mike's Arena, a game that might be on Peacock, one of those kind of awkward trap games where maybe you're not on shooting the 3 ball, can you still find a way to win? As Ron Rutland knocks down a 3 as the shot clock hits 0. But there are evidently going to be nights that are bad shooting nights, because that's just how basketball goes. The question for Indiana is, can you find other ways to still score? And that's something that we might need a little bit more time to figure out. Sisley on the offensive glass. Can't convert, but he'll go to the stripe for 2.
And I think that the promising point to that for Indiana is the pace of play with which the Hoosiers move. They are rapid, and I think that when the shooting's not there, that rapid pace of play can often help kind of get out of a slump or just find different routes of scoring, because it opens so many lanes.
Sisley too strong on the first free throw. Couple of substitutes getting ready to come in for Indiana. We'll see Andre Achimovic and Ian Stephens. One of the walk-ons is Stephens. Bailey and Alexis to the bench. Achimovic, the freshman from Bosnia. Sisley's second free throw is good. You think of pace of play, fast teams in the state of Indiana. Well, Indiana basketball was once upon a time, of course, known as the Hurricane Hoosiers. And more recently, going to the NBA for this one, as there's a foul off the ball. And they got Josiah Miles for that one. Some of the students chanting that they want Drew Snively, another one of the walk-ons from Zionsville. Might see him later. Offensive rebound for Humphrey, and another foul. And this one also on Miles, so all of a sudden he's up to 4, or I believe he just fouled out. He was up to 4 before that last sequence, but Miles, his night ends a little early.
That's felt like the big difference between the first 20 to now about the first 11 of this second half, is that there have been more fouls for Indiana across the board. It hasn't been as clean.
And so the student section gets its wish with Miles fouling out. Drew Snively into the game. So 2 walk-ons on the floor right now for Indiana. Snively and Ian Stevens, 21 and 30 respectively. Enright bringing it up the floor. Both walk-ons Indiana natives. Enright up top. Here's Snively's first touch. Gives it off to Sisley. Achimovic inside. Here comes the double team. Enright cuts in. 10 on the shot clock. Achimovic again doubled inside. And a whistle before the shot. As I think they got Blake Russell for that one. We'll take another look. Achimovic inside, he got grabbed by Russell.
Yeah, he got wrapped up, did a good job fighting through it, just throwing a shot up in a hope that it would fall. Got pretty close, but just not quite there. It's hard when you get grabbed and pulled like that to really get up a good attempt.
So Miles on the bench. Indiana now with all 3 walk-ons in the game as Achimovic misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Final 9 minutes of this exhibition game. Here's Lovin driving on Ian Stevens into the paint, misses the layup. Achimovic there for the board. And Trice Grensing's first touch. The hat trick of walk-ons into the game right now for the Hoosiers. Grensing inside to Achimovic. Nice cut by Sisley. Finishes, and the foul. The off-ball movement so impressive by Indiana. Sisley with another example right there.
Yeah, exactly. The ball movement opening up another lane, and Trent Sisley just uses a quick first step to really get in there. Goes through 2 defenders and still able to get up a really good layup just right into the bucket. He's also pretty quick. We talked about his touch, his shooting ability. He's a fast-paced player as well.
And so Sisley to the bench as Reed Bailey comes back in. And Sisley, you think his shooting ability, well, during Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood, he made a shot from the balcony above the Five Guys restaurant on Kirkwood, just a block or so from campus. Obviously, that might not translate into a game, but you're thinking, wow, this guy's going to be a star. Here's Blake Russell. Not quite. Stevens elevates for the rebound. And I thought it was really cool that Indiana had that event on Kirkwood, connecting with the community. You see Darren DeVries adopting that community-focused approach. He's taking pictures with fans well before the game, meeting anybody who wants to come up and shake his hand. And I think that's a good way to ingratiate yourself with a brand new community that necessarily doesn't know who you are or what this program is going to look like moving forward. Nice finish at the glass by Aiden Franks for the Knights.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a clear effort and emphasis from DeVries to connect with not only the community, but the students.
Stevens inside lays it in. A nice ovation for the New Palestine native. Stevens, one of only 2 players on this roster that was here last year, the other being Jordan Rayford. Inside, Russell. Mismatched with Achimovic, but he finds a way to lay it in.
Couple really nice fakes there. Russell did a good job of getting his defender in the air and just not quitting on the play, trying to find that open shot. And once he got it, he took it.
Grensing outside to Snively, too strong on the 3. Achimovic on the weak side, misses the layup. And the rebound down to Marian's Aiden Franks, who tries a 3 and leaves it short. Not the first Marian airball we've seen tonight, as Drew Snively grabbed his man. And both teams in the bonus from here on out. But I remember I was down in summer ball and I'm thinking, oh, this team's in Puerto Rico. But IU student media had some boots on the ground. I know Daniel Flick was there. I know Josh Pose was there as well. As Noah Lovin misses the front end of that 1-and-1. But DeVries was shaking hands with the fans down there as well, just to kind of get back to the earlier point about connecting with the fan base, thanking all of the fans who made the trip to Puerto Rico. Here's Ron Rutland on the perimeter. 2 Indiana natives going at it. Or Trice Grensing, I beg your pardon, the only walk-on not from Indiana. And an offensive foul assessed to Marian's Lamar Jones. Grensing is from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He is not from Indiana. His dad, Greg, overlapped with Darren DeVries for 7 seasons at Creighton. Back in the 90s and early 2000s. You want to talk about a small world.
Yeah.
Achimovic to Grensing up top, trying to get inside. There's the double team. Back out to Stevens. Over to Sisley. Sisley, the fadeaway off the heel. Achimovic on the offensive glass. Lost the handle on his own.
And now we're starting to see these players like Sisley get comfortable and try more things. A bit more creativity, a bit more flair on that shot. And that's another joy of the exhibition games, is that players on both sides can really get creative and not worry about the result as much.
Snively bumping into Noah Lovin right there. So Snively picking up his 2nd foul in short order. 5.5 to go in this one. So Indiana in the double bonus. The Hoosiers have committed 9 team fouls. So Marian, after Indiana's next foul, will shoot 2 the rest of the way. Lovin at the line, looking for his 5th point tonight, and he's got it. 3 of those points coming at the free throw line. Fouls 13 for Indiana, 15 for Marian. Grensing gets a screen. He's open, he fires, and he misses. And that's going the other way. But you see the claps on the bench. Take the shot. What's the worst that could happen at this stage? Walk-on's probably not going to see the court too much moving forward. So getting live reps, of course, very important.
Yeah, and they seem to be enjoying themselves as well, having fun playing hard basketball against the Knights. And I would say even the bench is enjoying it. Very, very lively, very active over there for Indiana. Everyone's just kind of happy to be back on the floor and playing basketball, it appears.
And you think back to kind of the start of football season, I'm sure there's a similar sentiment here with Indiana basketball. It's nice to play against somebody else, as opposed to scrimmages and inter-squad things where, you know your opponent. Here, it's nice to, I'm sure, see some new faces on the other side. Nice pass inside. Achimovic finishes. Set up by Drew Snively. But Darren DeVries said that he's learned some things from the way Curt Cignetti runs IU football. Of course, Cignetti just extended. Now one of the 5 highest paid coaches in all of college football, as there's a steal for Indiana, deflected by Stevens. Here's Sisley all the way to the rim, and Achimovic tips it in. But DeVries said Indiana football, tough, physical, and disciplined, and he said if we can do each of those things, we're going to have a chance to win every single night. Pat Knight wants it, but Graham Nash, as Ian Stevens reaches in on Aaron Humphrey, a lot to like for Indiana going into the Baylor exhibition next Sunday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Most
definitely. I'd say clean basketball is the biggest upside for this Indiana team. All things considered, despite some penalties, some fouls in the second half, it's been a pretty clean brand of basketball. We've talked about quick ball movement. We've talked about really good three-point shooting, but I feel like the team has played much more together than I think most expected from them in this exhibition.
Aaron Humphrey makes the foul shot. And you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Marian is an NAIA opponent, but the Knights can gain things from playing in this kind of environment as well. Just going up onto a big stage and showing that you can compete. As Humphrey intercepts the pass. Going back the other way, open shooter is Renfro, and he makes the 3. And you can see the Marian fans love that. And those are the kinds of things, those transition baskets, getting into the passing lanes, those are things that Marian can take as positives moving forward into NAIA play this season.
Most definitely. That fast break opportunity, that's something that you can find for yourself against any team, no matter the level.
As Grensing leaves the 3 short, and Stevens sends Joshua Renfro to the floor. So we'll walk 94 feet and shoot a pair.
seen in so long.
And Knight, recognizable to pretty much anyone in Bloomington who knows the long and fabled history of IU basketball. But in Indianapolis, he told us he's kind of incognito.
Yeah.
Indianapolis, a bigger city, and so it's a place where he can kind of just be himself and not have to worry about getting recognized. As he leads this Marian program into its second season with him at the helm. Marian last year struggled with injuries, 11-17, just 5 wins in conference play. That was coming off of 7 straight 20-win seasons. So Knight looking to get the Knights back to that level moving forward. Offensive rebound, Ian Stevens. Trice Grinsing between the rings as we're under 3 minutes to play in this one. Stevens, the New Pal native. Red and white, the Dragons colors there as well. As Drew Snively makes the floater. Snively played his ball at Zionsville High School, playing for the Eagles, 2-time All-Hoosier Crossroads Conference for Snively. Another athlete to come out of Zionsville High School, the son of former Indianapolis Colts receiver T.Y. Hilton, played football there. As Achimowicz elevates for the board. But Graham, this is where I'll dip into my Indianapolis background for a little bit. Zionsville made back-to-back 5A state titles in football and lost both times to the Cathedral Fighting Irish.
Wow.
Stevens fouled on the way up, and I was fortunate enough to be a senior when Cathedral completed the back end of that back-to-back state title run at the 5A level, and I got to conduct at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm thinking to myself, man, this is pretty cool. But my Zionsville friends, and I had a lot of them because I worked in that area, and they were not too happy, but I couldn't complain. Cathedral New Pal, also a bit of a rivalry. Ian Stevens played at New Pal High School. Misses the first free throw. But Darren DeVries, I'm sure a lot of positives to take away, especially from that first half. Indiana scoring nearly 70 points in the first 20 minutes, but also probably some things to clean up, the turnovers, the fouls. But again, that's why you play these exhibitions, just so that your team can get their feet wet playing against different opponents as opposed to just facing each other in practice. Up top, Rutland bluffs a 3. Now he fires over Achimowicz. A little bit off target and off the leg of Trice Grinsing from the Volunteer State down in Tennessee. Man, you want to talk about an exciting place to be right now. Tennessee and Vanderbilt both making waves in college football. One of those more surprising than the other, I think. Here's Lovin stepping back, misses the 3 short, tipped out of bounds, last touched by Aaron Humphrey. 91 seconds left in this one. As Grinsing brings it up the floor. Achimowicz in the paint. Around and out, but he tips it back in. Not the first time we've seen Achimowicz capitalize on a second chance opportunity.
Yeah, Achimowicz has shown some real upside. 6'10" freshman. He's been really, really strong down in the paint. Definitely a plus in this ball game. Maybe one that many people, including DeVries, didn't really expect, seeing that he hasn't really had that much experience, had that much time under his belt.
Humphrey tries a long 2 off front iron. Trent Sisley is there. And Grinsing across the floor to Stevens. As we're under a minute to go now. Achimowicz up top. Snively, a dead-on 3, too short. And Lovin watches it go out of bounds.
We keep coming back to it, but the pace of play has been evident. Indiana has moved the ball so consistently and so quickly, really speaking to how they want to play their brand of basketball this season. And they're doing exactly what Coach Darren DeVries promised almost to fans this season.
Renfro, a deep 3 off target. Stevens with the board. And the shot clock is turned off. Stevens content to just dribble this one out. A lot of positives to take away from Indiana.